All right, now we come to our last bit about the New Deal Begins, and this is the interesting one. This is going to tell you what he's going to do with the banking as well as this new economic system. Remember, I told you he doesn't like trickle-down economics. He gives us a new one. All right, and if you paid attention at the beginning, you know we heard about it. If not, you'll get it. So, with the banks closed, Congress passes what is called the Glass-Steagall Banking Act, sometimes called the Banking Act of 1933. This Banking Act here, essentially, whole idea was to separate risky speculative investment banking from traditional. So if you're going to be a bank, you have to pick, am I a commercial bank and take people's monies, or am I a stock market bank? And I cannot combine the two of them. It also set up the FDIC as well as the SEC. FDIC was insurance for your deposits, so people would feel safe putting their money in. SEC was to protect against stock market fraud, and it kind of leads to why the stock market app you have on your phone. Okay. Now, some measures of the economy. The first we have is called the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones is an industrial average. In other words, on average, how much money are we making as a country? How can we compare that to last year, to next year, etc.? And so if we're having a good time, it might be a good time to invest in stocks. Having a bad time, don't do it, okay? The second thing is called the NASDAQ. Now, the NASDAQ is the stock market itself. This is, if there's a lot of activity in the stock market, you do not want to get involved. Bear market. If there's little and it seems to be on the upside, bull market, you do, okay? So these two things go hand in hand if you get into the stock market today to prevent you from speculative brokers and losing your money and going broke. Now, you actually have that iPhone apps and stocks, and if you can see there, the NASDAQ is one of the first things you'll have on there, as well as the Dow Jones can be found on that as well. So you can see at any time how our country is doing and how you want to move about that. Now, the new economic theory we have is called Keynesian economics. Okay? Now you see here, my wife's a Keynesian. She's always spinning herself out of depressions. So the first thing that spawns this idea of this John Maynard Keynes from England is the Great Depression. And that is, okay, we had laissez-faire. It's not working. So how do we fix ourselves in depression? We spend our way out of it. Okay? So Keynesian economics is actually the flip side of trickle down. We're not going to start at the top, but at the bottom. So we want to help out the general welfare of the people, and we feel that the businesses should be held accountable for that as well as the people. It relies on a high amount of taxes to pay for these programs, and that was the whole thing of Keynesian economics. One of the big theories we have in Keynesian economics is called deficit spending. And deficit spending is spending money you do not have. And the big phrase goes, and you're going to get tired of hearing me say this, you have to spend money to make money. So, in Keynesian economics, if you want to get out of depression and you want to have money, you've got to spend money. You've got to get that money circulating, flowing, much like a fan, okay, and help people out. Now, the problem is, it does lead to debt, and this is why we have debt today. But we want to help out these people. We want to do this, and so it comes out of your taxes, and we have to end up borrowing money, etc. And this is where all that kind of comes to fruition. Okay. Now, lastly here, and this is kind of a loose thing here, like a good neighbor, FDR is there. He calls it the good neighbor policy. Now, the good neighbor policy was to correct all the wrongs of Roosevelt, Taft, and Wilson during imperialism, and kind of repair fences in South America and the Caribbean. The whole idea is we want to get these people on our side, trading with us to get us out of the depression. Right? So that was our good neighbor policy. That was the last video on the New Deal Begins. Now the next one is actually really important, and it's a different quiz because it's matching. It's on the New Deal programs, so pay attention to that.